Hello everyone, my name is Varun and today in this video we are going to discuss about handling forms in React. So in React there are two kinds of form components. One are controlled components and another one is uncontrolled components. So let's first discuss about different controlled components in React. So we have input, select, button and text area. So now let's discuss what are controlled components. Control components are the ones which are under the control of React state. So there is a single source of truth while handling forms in React. So those components are called controlled components. Why we have created a separate concept of control components? Because normal HTML form contains their own internal state for handling the form values. Now, from here, let's move our conversation to uncontrolled components. For uncontrolled components, we have file component. So this is uncontrolled component because it is read only. Similarly, if we want to access the actual DOM of the document without giving the control over the React, then we can use uncontrolled component. The example by which we can actually access the actual DOM is useref hook. So we will be diving deeper into how this useref works and what are its actual application. Now the question is, what is the recommendation from the React? So React recommends that we should always use controlled components so that it can better optimize the DOM manipulations. We can use ref only if we want to access or we want to use other external JavaScript libraries in my React application. So don't try to overuse the use ref. Yeah, if you want to use jQuery and you directly want to access the DOM or you want to manipulate anything in the DOM, then yes, for such cases you can utilize the use ref, but it is not a recommended approach. So now let's dive into the code base to see it in action, to see how the control component behaves and how uncontrolled component behaves. And we will also see that how to access the value of the form component if the form component is uncontrolled. So for explaining controlled and uncontrolled components, I have created a basic application UI. You can see that there is a label input box and there is a button. This is for controlled and below there is for uncontrolled. All right. Uh, Let me also wrap this into a form. All right. And okay, we will do the on submit handler later on. So guys, as I mentioned that in control component, we have a full control of our component via React. React is having full control of the, input components. So now for using that, we first need to define the state as val set val as use state. Sorry. Oops. Okay. Now let's use this value as val. Now, I haven't done anything extra here. I'm just adding the value from this state and the default value of the state is blank. Now, if you see, if I try to enter anything, it is not reflecting the value because we are not updating the value using setval as of now. So in order to update the value and give the latest value to React, we need to use onChange handler, onChange handler on change handler. All right, and now let's create this on change handler method. Oops. Okay, so here we need to use event here, and then there is a event dot target dot value. Okay guys, so here you can see that there is on change event and on change event. I am just updating the value. I'm just telling the React that update this value with the new value. Now if I try to type anything, you can see that it is reflected in the UI, and this particular change is known to React. Now let's add its submit handler. Handler controlled. All right, and let me define this method, and let's type alert val. So guys, I never recommend using alert. This is just for the demo purpose, as I'm just showing you the value. In real application, I would recommend never use alert in your applications. Okay, now this is test. All right, now click on submit. You can see that this value is visible. So guys, we have just experimented with our, you know, controlled component. We came to know that we need to supply the value. We need to handle the state by providing the onChange handler. And then in onChange handler, we are updating the state using setVal, and we are getting the updated value from event.target.value. This is the main functionality of JavaScript actually. This event handler is of JavaScript itself. And then on onSubmit handler, you can see that I'm just alerting the state value. All right. So now let's move on to uncontrolled component. As I have mentioned that uncontrolled components are not under the control of React. So we are not going to use this value, and we are not going to use state here. But now the question is then how we are going to access the actual value of my HTML form. So here we have another hook called useRef hook. So in useRef hook, let's create const input ref is equal to useRef as null. Now I am providing the initial value as null. So useRef hook will provide me a way to actually access the real DOM element. So I have created the reference to the element, and now I need to define that how it will get connected with my actual DOM element. So here I will be providing ref as input ref. Okay, now you can see that in this element I haven't added any value. There is no state, and we are just directly connecting that this input element reference is available to this input ref. That's it. And there is no onChange handler over there. Now let's add its form handler, submit form handler. I think I haven't added the form tag over there. So let me add it, and let me do this way. So it is giving me the error. All right, let me add a BR. Okay. Now instead of controlled, it should be uncontrolled. US capital. And now let me define this method const uncontrolled alert. So guys, now what I am doing here is that on submit of this button, I want to access the value inside this input field. So for that, this useress provide me the way like input ref dot current. So it is a very important property. Through this property I can do many things, but for now we only need to print the value in that current field, right? So now let me refresh and test. Here it is not printing, it is not doing anything. Let me see what's wrong here. All right, so the main issue is that I have used input type as button, so it should be input type as submit. So it is a most common mistake that developer do. So whenever we are using form and we are using on submit handler, our button type should be submit. Also the key thing here is that whenever we use input type submit and click on the button, it always reloads my page. So that is the default functionality of a submit input type submit button. So guys, you can see that. Let's try out the demo again. This is uncontrolled, right? And clicking on submit, you can see that it is printing the value. This is uncontrolled. So via input ref current and value, it is printing this value. All right, guys. So we have actually understood both of these examples. First, we created the controlled component. From controlled component, we actually handle the form of the HTML of our input elements via useState hook, and we also handled onChange handler to update this state. And then on submit handler, we just printed that state via our useState hook, right? Similarly, not similarly, for uncontrolled component, we just created the reference to our DOM. Once the reference is present, we just printed the current value, nothing else. So here we are not creating any use state, we are not using any on change handler. Now the question is, looks like this is very easy way, right? But guys, I'm saying that this is not a recommended approach. So don't try to use this, or don't try to have a common practice of using uncontrolled components. So I hope that you will like this video. If you have any doubt or any query, do ask your query on your comments below. And if you feel that there are some errors or there is anything that I have missed, then do let me know in the comment itself, because we all are in the journey of learning things. And also, as React is also keeps on updating, so maybe the thing that I am using at this moment is available, but might be after 1 year or 2 year that particular thing is not available or deprecated. All right, guys, thank you.